All right. Hey, everybody. I am here with Michael Hernandez-Phillips. Please say hi, Michael. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Michael Hernandez-Phillips. I directed this summer's production of As You Like It online, and I'm excited to answer some questions.
Awesome. First off, we're going to tell our viewers, we haven't seen each other in person in a bit, obviously, but something we end up, it's an inside joke, and what we end up yelling at each other then when we see each other is she drove me here.
She drove me here.
Usually yell it very loudly. And for those unaware, can you explain maybe where that comes from, or why, if you are a fan of Parks and Rec, and watch the bloopers, you would have no idea what we're talking about?
Yeah, that comes from an episode of Parks and Rec where Billy Eichner, I forget what even the context was, but that he
They're
was
at
upset.
a meeting.
Yeah, they're at a meeting. And he's like following someone out or something like along those lines. And he just goes, "She drove me here."
But it's his friend Madison. That's the thing.
It was
that's
Madison. Oh my goodness.
And that's my name. I'm Madison, by the way. I didn't introduce myself.
Now it's falling into place. Okay, yeah. I remember us doing this, but I don't remember how specifically we got to that point. I thought it was at a cast party or something. I was going home with someone and we were saying bye, and I was like, oh, I have to go with so-and-so. She drove me here. But now I'm reconsidering everything. I don't know if that's the truth.
I don't remember exactly how it was involving, I walked into the conversation, and you guys, I think it was Shakespeare's R&J, and you guys were like making that joke and yelling, "She drove me."
Oh, we absolutely were. Yes, we were, because it was
you guys were joking, and then I walked into the room.
Yes, yeah, like, we were joking about that. And you were like, "Oh, my name is Madison." I was like, "Madison, she drove me here."
So
okay, now it's like a flash of memory just came back. Got it.
So if any of our viewers see us if they see us in the wild and we see each other and they're wondering why are they yelling,
yeah,
why? Because it's Billy Eichner. He is constantly yelling, and that's his.
Yeah, we don't carpool. We're just quoting.
Yeah. We've never been in a car together.
Not once.
Okay. So that's what we yell at each other, and that's how we know each other. But tell our viewers, how did you get involved with the Long Beach Playhouse? What projects have you worked on with the Long Beach Playhouse?
Sure. I got involved with Long Beach Playhouse in the summer of 2014. I was still acting at the time, and I auditioned for Spring Awakening. So I was playing Han Shin, bleached my hair, and I met a lot of fun people, like in the cast as well as like at the Playhouse. And that's how I started to get to know Sean Gray, who was the director. And then the next summer, I auditioned for Shakespeare's R&J, and I played Student 1, Romeo. And at that point, I think that's the last time I acted, because I was switched my emphasis to directing, and I kind of had found that as a new path. And I had talked to Sean about that, and he asked me, it must have been the next year, that fall, if I wanted to assistant direct Sweeney Todd that he was directing. And so I worked with him on that, and I got to know like more people at the Playhouse, more, you always meet more actors and people in the cast. And that was the last project I had at the Playhouse before I moved to New York in that next January.
Awesome.
And then Sean and I have like been keeping up with each other, and I asked if there were any open slots for directors back in December, and he said, we're building our season, and I told him that I would be in California visiting family for the holidays. So we set up a meeting and we met and we talked about some ideas, and he said, well, we're looking at doing As You Like It next year. How do you feel about that? And I was like, oh, I love that. Sounds wonderful. And so I went back to New York after the holidays and was working on a concept pitch for him. And that's kind of how we landed on this 1950s theme, where the court is represented as the McCarthyism, extremely corrupt government, where everything is questions of loyalty and all those things, and that just felt very relative right now. And how the Forest of Arden was this magical place where people were able to express themselves and explore themselves. And so I thought, well, that seems like, you know, in the 50s, the other side of that would be the beginning of the Beat Generation, the beginning of the counterculture, and all these different groups of people that were really on the forward side of, you know, so many different civil rights movements, women's lib movements, the gay rights movements, and just artistic expression, freedom to explore their art form, their spirituality, their sexuality, and all these things that I thought like, wow, that seems like if Shakespeare had a play about that, it would be As You Like It, and that would be the Forest of Arden.
That's awesome. I love that concept. I think it fits really well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so with As You Like It, for people that are watching, we originally were going to be doing As You Like It in the studio at this time. And so obviously because of COVID, you know, we weren't able to produce it, but then we were able to transition it to be a digital production. So what Sean had worked on and worked with you, we decided to release it over the weekends that the show was originally going to be running. We usually run for 5 weekends. There's 5 acts. So back in the end of August, we had released Act 1, and then Act 2 the next weekend, Act 3, and we just released Act 4. And then today, the people are viewing this on Thursday, the 24th, and so tomorrow on the 25th, the finale, or no, Saturday, sorry, Saturday, 26th, the finale, the Act 5 will be put out. So we're going to be, we've been releasing, and then it's going to be finishing up this weekend. But they're going to be staying on our YouTube and on our website and Facebook and Instagram. So if you haven't watched yet, you still can. You can catch up, you know, before this weekend, or you've got all the time in the world to finish it up afterwards. And so with, since this is obviously different, it's a different production, as opposed to directing in a traditional rehearsal process, you know, obviously in person, moving around, a set, you know, a full set behind you. How did you approach this project directing for online as opposed to the traditional rehearsal processes? Are a lot of things the same, or a lot of things different? What was the process like with all that?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were, you know, they were things that we would still do in a normal rehearsal process. And then there were things that we had to kind of figure out as we go, because this is a new kind of medium for a lot of us. And so we started with I was getting in touch with all my actors and confirming with them, and then setting up schedules for our rehearsal and recording days. And then we sat down, and everyone, it was 12 people, not including myself, on this Zoom call. And we talked about the show. I talked about, you know, we want to make this based off of the production we were going to do this summer, and try and keep these themes. You know, I didn't want people to like run to the store and like find a thrift store that was open and get like a 1950s dress or like a fascinator or anything like that. It was more of just like, find what you have in your apartment. And that was kind of what this entire process has been, is you do what you can with what you have.
Yeah, found items, as opposed to going out to the store and getting a whole bunch of stuff.
And it's also like, it's all of us kind of taking adversity and turning it into opportunity, where we're stuck at home. A lot of us aren't working right now, and we just have so much time on our hands that, you know, artistic people and everyone, we're feeling stir crazy and a little bit anxious. So this has been a great opportunity for, I mean, me and myself, just to focus on something and work on that, so that I have a set schedule where it's like, okay, I know I'm going to be reading in the morning, rehearsing in the afternoon, editing at night, and all these things. So it kind of gives me some sense of normalcy. And that's kind of what I was hoping to give to our cast and even our audience, you know, a semblance of theater that we're not able to partake in right now.
Yeah, and a creative outlet, you know, for your performers that
absolutely,
don't be on stage right now.
Yeah.
something that is so cool, like you had said, you were living in New York, you've been back in California for a bit. I know you're going back to New York, and some of our actors in the production are from New York, and that's something that we would not be able to do now, like normal times. We're a local community theater. We don't have
Mhm.
actors from New York fly out and stay here. So having like a cross-country cast for this production, I think is just such a cool, a silver lining, a positive. For
Yeah, it's been I really enjoyed it. That it was, I had people that I had worked with at the Playhouse, and that like I knew that audience members would recognize, and I knew that Sean knew and other people knew. And then I had people from my university. I went to Cal State University Fullerton, and so I had friends who I met there who are actors. But we've all kind of scattered to the wind this summer. Some of us are living at home, some of us are living, in our city, some of us are staying with parents or doing this and that. So we have a wide variety of actors who are from Orange County, who are staying in the Bay Area right now, who are from New York, who have been like up in the Northeast. And then like everyone's kind of moving around. So there were rehearsals where someone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in Mexico this weekend." And we're recording, and so it's like we're gonna do match everything, but it's just like it's cool to be like, oh, you're in Mexico right now, or you're in San Francisco, or you're in New York, and like you're in the basement of your apartment. It's been fun. It's the only struggle with all that is I made sure on day one I was like, hey, I'm gonna be sending out schedules. Everything is Pacific Standard Time.
yeah.
And New York people, I
Like,
will do my best not to have your rehearsal at midnight.
yeah, that's very considerate of you.
I tried. There was still some that I was like, hey, can you stay on for a little bit?
My roommate's a music teacher, and she works with this nonprofit, and they've been figuring out online classes. And obviously, they're a local group, but then they put this online thing up, and they have a student in Hawaii, they've got students on the East Coast, and a similar
Oh,
thing of
wow.
all these times are Pacific. And
Yeah.
so it's a Friday or an evening class. So some of these kids in New York are staying up past their bedtime for the class, and then the Hawaiian student, it's like, all right, school ended,
Getting up.
get into your lesson.
Go. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's fun.
kind of
It's
a
like
cool
for
thing.
me, yeah, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a rehearsal at like 4 in the afternoon, which is like early. But that way, everyone is kind of on the same page where it's like, all right, I know that when this is done, I'm gonna go get dinner, and I know that when right before this started, you had just gotten dinner, and so like we're all kind of on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Moving back, earlier you had said that you had been performing and then you kind of
Mhm.
transitioned to directing. So with that kind of discovery of, what you wanted to pursue, was that, during when you're taking classes, or was it just kind of experience when you were performing that, you wanted to explore the directing part, or how did that transition happen?
Yeah, well, I had always been, in love with theater since I was a kid. I remember seeing my cousin do Our Town, and I was in like the second grade, and I loved it. Like Our Town is not a short play. I just thought, she played Emily Webb, and I remember being so moved seeing her sitting on the hill at the end. And so I got bit by the creative bug, and then my sister was doing like a children's repertory theater. It was called Fullerton Children's Repertory Theater, which I don't think they are still operating anymore. But she went through, and it was like ages like fourth grade to eighth grade. And so as soon as she aged out, I auditioned and got in because I was at the bottom of the age bracket. And so I did that through all those years. And then I got to high school, and I was still acting, and I was doing like the drama club. And then senior year, I was the president and like planned our festival stuff. And then I went to Fullerton College, where we're still acting, but you're taking a lot of courses in like stage management, directing, stage makeup, all these things to like round you out as a performer and as an artist. And then I got to Cal State Fullerton, and I had kind of lost a little bit of wind with acting. I knew that I wanted to like always be doing something in theater, but I just hadn't found the passion in a while to act. I still enjoyed it, it just wasn't as fulfilling. And I'd started writing, and there was a playwriting professor there named Susan Merson who kind of took me under her wing, and she had a summer class in New York, that I went to and took, and it was just a summer of writing and exploring the city. And then I came back and I changed my major to playwriting from acting. And so I was doing that for like a semester, but the playwriting emphasis, you need to take a few semesters of directing. And then like my first like 2 weeks into the directing class, the professor, whose name is Mark Ramont, who is now my mentor, was like, you should probably consider changing your emphasis to directing, because you've got like you're asking all the right questions, and you're thinking of things differently. So consider it. And I was like, okay, maybe. Like I just changed my emphasis, and then like I put up my first scene from, I think it was Time Stands Still, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to be doing. So I switched my emphasis again to directing. And so for the next 2 years, I went through the directing track there, which is a phenomenal, if anyone's considering, undergrad or even grad work, Cal State Fullerton has a wonderful directing program, and Mark Ramont is the head of it there, and is just a phenomenal professor and mentor. And it was really, and like, we're still doing those, you take the stage management class, you take the set design class and all these things, and I just am looking at everything as the eyes, as how can this help me as a director? Like now I know how to talk to stage managers and like what it's like for them to go through this process, or what is it that a lighting designer looks at when they are in the first meeting, or when they're having a concept pitch. And so the program there really helped me to kind of round out as a director. And that's kind of when I was starting to I'd been working at the Playhouse for a little bit in those 2 shows, and then Sean was really wonderful, embracing it as being like, hey, I'm not super into acting anymore, but can I talk to you about like directing? And that's when he brought me on for Sweeney. And then it's just been a wonderful relationship with Cal State Fullerton, with the Playhouse, with everything. I've been really fortunate with them.
Great. Awesome. Well, since As You Like It is coming to a close this weekend, do you have other projects lined up right now, or anything else that you're working on?
I'm tossing around a few ideas with some friends in New York, several of whom were in As You Like It, and we're trying to find we don't know if large theater companies New York theater is going to come back as early as other theater companies can come back. So we're trying to toss around ideas of what can we do to get our community a little bit more active, if this pandemic continues on past January 1st. We all say 2020 is the worst year ever, but it's 2021, the clock's not going to roll over. Yeah, it's not really I mean, a lot of it depends on November, so knock wood. But we still want to be active artists regardless of what's going on. So we're looking at what is public domain that we can do several things similar to As You Like It, where maybe we record the acts, or we record one whole thing, or maybe we just do a reading, just something to get our muscles moving again.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, I think I'll let you go. Anything to plug? Do you want people to follow you on Instagram or Twitter, or I don't know?
Oh, sure.
Sure. All right. What else to plug? I don't know.
Nothing quite to plug at the moment. Just my Instagram is Michael Hernandez-Phillips, all one word. Phillips has 2 L's. And any new project that I come up with or join on to, I will be posting there. And yeah, so I'm just really happy to have had this experience with the Playhouse. It's been really wonderful, and Sean and the entire team has been so supportive and patient with us working out the kinks.
Yeah, it's a whole
before we got Act 1 going.
Yeah, it's a whole new world for all of this stuff. So yeah, it's a patient process.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well then, thank you so much, Michael. And we'll talk to you soon, and I'm sure we'll see you on the internet.
Absolutely. All right, thank you guys. She drove me here.